You said you had some good supportive people, but I feel like a lot of times Black men don't feel like we have supportive people around us. We feel like we have people that we have to support. So how do we create a network of people that we can actually depend on when it's time for us to actually need that support? What do you feel like are some things that we could do?
Man, you got to be an asshole sometimes.
What do you mean by that?
Because when somebody lets you know that they're not helping you get where you want to go, you got to stop messing with that. Like, in our culture, this interview gonna get me killed. I'm just gonna.
No, you're good, bro. You're good.
I'm just gonna tell you. No, you just watch the comments.
Okay.
But in our culture, we view elevating as selling out.
Okay.
And what I mean by that, like, if I grow up and I'm surrounded by just the neighborhood people I grew up with, there is absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to stay connected to your community. But if I want to elevate, then you've got to elevate with me. And if you don't, I've got to say, like, look, man, I'm going to a place that you don't seem to want to go to.
Right.
So I got to drop you off here.
Yep.
Like, I don't have a choice. Like, I love you and thank you for being my childhood friend, but I'm going to this other place.
Right.
I'm inviting you. Like, you are welcome to come with me. But if you choose not to come with me, I've got to leave you right here.
Absolutely.
And there are two really great examples about this. One in a way that it did not go well, and another one that it did. And I'll start with the one that didn't go well, which was Michael Vick.
Okay.
Michael Vick was so loyal to his childhood friends, he brought them on his journey of fame and wealth with him, even though they were not adding anything to his life. He just brought them along the journey due to loyalty. He has said this himself in interviews. Like, I'm just loyal to them. So when he got a $100 million contract, he was like, I want to support them. And they ended up dragging him down because they were the ones doing all of the craziness with the dog fighting and all that kind of stuff. Instead of supporting him and holding him up, they kept him involved in the street life, even though he was living this other life. He ended up having to do 2 years in prison for that. He lost his career. He lost multiple endorsements and all of the things. But then what happened? When he got out of prison, he left those things behind. You cannot come with me if you're not coming with me. And he got it all back. In part because he separated himself from the behaviors of people that were not elevating with him. Now, an example that goes really well is LeBron James.
I knew you were going to say LeBron.
LeBron James said to his homies, I want to build an empire. And he invested in them and he invited them. If you guys are willing to, we're going to go off and do this. They built $1 billion enterprise, but it's all people he grew up with. So I'm not saying you can't hang around with the people you grew up with, but once you choose, I'm going to go live a different life, they've got to either come with you or you have to drop them off and leave you behind.
And how do we know how to make that differentiation? Because I feel like sometimes we want to give people multiple chances because we're like, yo, I know this person. So how do we know when it's time for us to be like, all right, you know what? This ain't the relationship for me as I elevate to this new season. I think you know, that's why I said be an asshole. I think you know, but it's like you fear judgment. You fear retribution. You don't want to have the hard conversation, but you know, you know when people support you. Like one of my best friends from college is a guy named Matthew. Like, I've had some health struggles in the past couple of years. And like, if I were to hang out with Matthew, another black guy, he's an attorney now. If I were to hang out with Matthew and I say, hey man, let's go hang out. Matthew would be like, yeah man, let's go do that. And if I go, we're at a restaurant and I order a bowl of ice cream, Matthew would be like, man, you sure that's okay? Because Matthew's aware of my health and Matthew would support me. And sometimes support means you shouldn't do that. And Matthew would do that. Now, he ain't gonna stop me but Matthew would honestly say to me, hey man, are you sure that that's a good choice for you to make right now? And the other thing about Matthew, if he was like wanting ice cream, he would make a different choice to support me.
Matthew would be like, man, I want some ice cream, bro, but I ain't going to do that. So I'm going to eat this other thing. So you know that that's true. Now, let's say Matthew wasn't that kind of guy. Let's say I tell Matthew like, hey man, my doctor said my blood sugar, da-da-da. And Matthew says, hey man, screw that doctor, man. Let's go get some ice cream like we used to.
You don't know what you're talking
then
about.
I know, like I can't kick it with Matthew.
Yeah.
It might literally kill me. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I might literally die.
Yeah.
You're walking around here with 1 foot. You know, all the things that happen when you don't address your blood sugar health issues.
Right.
I know Matthew would 100% support me. Matthew is that friend. I can call Matthew and be like, hey man, we got to bury your body tonight. And he'd be like, all right, man, I'll bring the shovel. He's also the friend that if I called him and said, hey, my doctor told me if I don't change my lifestyle, I'm going to have some problems. Matthew would be like, okay, what are we going to do about it? You know what I mean? Like so I don't think the issue is how do we know? I think the issue is how to develop the like, you know, ability to make the decision that you know that you need to know, that you need to make. I think that's really the biggest issue.
Yeah. So then my question is now, because I think now what we're talking about is not necessarily whether we know, but more so how do we navigate the fear of what will happen after we make the decision?
Yeah. The only thing I can say is like, I don't make fear-based decisions.
Okay.
And I have people say to me, you know, once I started having certain levels of success, or even before that, when I went to college, people, oh, that's college kid. Okay. But now, college kid would get phone calls about the death or imprisonment of street kid. You know what I'm saying? So like when I was in college, like people would make fun of me and be like, oh, that's Joe College. He think he better than everybody else. Like, no, I just like, I went to college because there were 2 reasons I went to college. I wanted to play baseball. And once you're done with high school, the only place to play is in college or not. And the other reason was I wanted to learn about psychology. So I went to college, majored in psychology, and I played baseball. But people would be like, you think you're better than everybody else. Well, now I have a lot of business success in books, and people are, oh, you think you're better than everybody else. No. But I recognize that that's you judging me. And if I make decisions based upon fear of that judgment, I won't make the decisions that get me closer to where I'm trying to go. And it's very, very important that you make decisions that move you towards your aim and that you don't fear somebody else's judgment.
Do you feel like some of that fear comes from childhood trauma?
Maybe. I feel like I think a lot of human beings want to be accepted.
Okay.
And want to be liked. And we experience it as challenging when we feel like our own people don't like us or accept us.
Yeah.
But I don't have that. That is.
Have you always been that way, or is it just something that you developed as you gotten older?
I think I've always been that way. Like when your own dad don't like you, I think you have 2 ways you need to go. One way is like you become a people pleaser because you're trying to win. But I went the other way, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna figure out how to live this life without you liking me or anybody else. So that part ain't important to me. It's never really been important to me.
Yeah. You developed somewhat of a resilience to whether it doesn't matter whether or not people liked you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because I knew my father didn't like me. I knew he loved me. I still, to this day, I think my father loves me. I don't think he knows how to do it in a healthy way, but I knew he didn't like me. He didn't like certain parts of my personality, certain characteristics about me. Yeah. I've always been quiet. Strangely enough, I become a speaker and a writer and all that, but I've always been quiet. And I remember one day walking into church with my father, my 2 brothers, and I've always been an introverted person. So we're walking into the church, and I've got my head down, and I'm just walking. And this guy walks past my dad and 2 brothers and says, "Good morning." And I didn't know that dude, and just kept my head down, kept walking. My 2 brothers responded to the guy, but to me, I was just in my little bubble in my own head. And when we got into church, my father took me into a back room and we had an issue. And I remember thinking, like, I was just being myself. Like, I didn't do anything rude to that guy. I was literally just being myself. And I grew up thinking, like, if being myself is going to upset you, then I've now got a choice. Am I going to change who I am? Or are you going to have to learn how to deal with me being myself? And for whatever reason, authenticity is probably the most important trait for me. So I'm not going to sacrifice being myself for anybody.
Sometimes I know you feel like you ain't got nobody to speak to. A shoulder to lean on, somebody you could preach to. Know you need to hear it, my brother.